we haven't been talking about since we started talking about Biden's age? Women's rights. The fact that women are suffering all over this country because our right to our own body is being stripped from us, and one party will continue to make that worse by banning contraception and IVF and the end of no-fault divorce and the rise of child brides. That is an election-winning argument, but we're not talking about it. You know what we haven't been talking about since we've been talking about who and why and how we should replace Joe Biden? The fact that the Supreme Court just made our president a king above the law. Was anyone scared when that happened? That Joe Biden was immediately going to start taking out his political enemies or rounding up people and throwing them in jail? No, because people trust Joe Biden. They trust his leadership and his morality and his respect for the Constitution and the rule of law. Joe Biden is literally answerable to no one right now, and I would hazard to say that none of you are concerned about that. But if you consider his opponent, that is an election-winning argument, but no one is talking about it. Because while we are busy talking about how slow Joe Biden is, we should be talking about how fast Donald Trump would take over this country with violence and malice if he was given the authority Joe Biden has right now. We really want to give the criminal wannabe dictator rapist who admires the leadership of people like Putin and Kim Jong-un the power of kings? Really? Because that is terrifying. The man was talking about going on a retribution tour before the Supreme Court gave the president the power to do that. You know what we aren't talking about as Democrats stab their own winning incumbent in the back on national TV to benefit the wannabe oligarchs of Trump's dystopian America? The fact that Donald Trump is completely untrustworthy and the people he surrounds himself with are lying snakes. Imagine those people in an America where the bought and paid for Supreme Court just made bribery of politicians legal and eliminated the power of federal agencies to use their expertise to keep us safe. We're not talking about any of those things that just happened at the end of the Supreme Court term because we're talking about how virile Joe Biden is. Who cares? There are so many bigger things on the line. Both candidates are flawed, but one candidate is way more flawed and comes with all the worst ways to run a country. So stop talking about the Democratic candidate. There are 4 months until the election. Start talking about the issues. Talk about women dying. Talk about the unchecked power of a dictator. Talk about the fact that it is insane that Republicans are running a literal criminal for president. We are wasting time talking about the men when we need to be talking about what the men will do to America. At the end of the day, one man is bad. A bad person. Bad by every metric that there is. A predator, a con man, a criminal who cheats on his taxes and his wife. A man who lied and committed crimes to become president in the first place. A man beholden to others. A man unable to start a casino in Australia because of his mob ties. A man deeply besotted with the worst autocrats of the world who wants to round up people and put them in camps. The other is old and slow and not at the top of his game. But he's also a practicing Catholic who goes to church every weekend and visits his dead wife and daughter. A good man who loves this country and his grandchildren and has served this nation as a public servant for 50 years. Neither candidate is ideal, but one is good and one is bad, and they will drive this country in two completely different directions. Talk about that. Is our candidate ideal? No. Is their candidate ideal? No. Is their candidate worse than our candidate? Yes. Now, let's get back to the issues.